That's a very deep question. I think that there's lots of different reasons why sectarianism has developed in this context, and I think it has to do with issues like masculinity and attitudes that are to do with difference and discrimination. I don't think that we can separate off this one little area and have a little hermetically sealed area that's to do with sectarianism. I think it's to do with power and to do with discrimination and difference and fear, poverty. So it's a very, very complex area. If I imagine a Scotland without sectarianism, I think that we'd also be looking at a Scotland that has a more harmonious social and cultural environment as a whole, because the lessons that would be learnt on the way to getting rid of sectarian bigotry would necessarily mean that people might respect each other across class, across disability and ability, across ethnicities and so on and so forth, and genders as well. So I think when you start to work in an area, whether it's racism or sexism or homophobia or sectarianism, you work on the whole equalities agenda. I think that the work needs to be done around understanding and respect and recognising difference, even in looking at things like language and the way that people use language and the way that they might be people might be confrontational or discriminatory without knowing where that's come from, so it might be learnt behaviours. So I think that it can be tackled in lots of different ways, but I think in the general discussion around equalities, I think would be really, really helpful. You might wonder whether that is the case as a white English-speaking woman living in Glasgow, but yes, I have. My own heritage is a heritage that is from Northern Ireland, from Mull, from Tiree, and my relatives live in Kilsyth, but actually it was one particular incident recently sort of typifies the way that anybody really can be subject to sectarian behaviour. I was travelling home on a train and I live in the east of the city, and I happened to be wearing a jacket that had a colour that is significant for some people as associated with one side of the sectarian divide, and I was subject to really horrible levels of abuse, and that I was told to take my jacket off and I shouldn't be wearing it, and it was disgusting, and did I not know what that meant, and it was the full Monty without the kicking at the end of it, thankfully. But what it made me feel, although I'd got some very positive feelings about my heritage, it actually gave me a little idea of what it might be like to be subject to discrimination like that on a regular basis, whether because of my accent or if you were a person of colour, how it might feel to not be able to pass, that it's been seen all the time as a trigger for that type of discriminatory behaviour. So although that might seem like a wee incident, it's something that helped me understand a little bit better what people must feel like when they're experiencing that on a daily basis or more regularly. I think that one thing that I learnt in the workshop earlier on today is that from one of the other the people who were gathering was the idea that in your own wee setting you can make the difference. So it might be overwhelming to think about tackling sectarianism in Scotland, but if you think about tackling sectarianism in your own setting, whether that's in your family setting or whether that's in your local community or whether in a workplace setting, that all these interventions make a difference, that step by step, increment by increment, we can make a change if we all decide to do it in our own setting.